Okay, sorry about the last video. I forgot to turn the bloody microphone on. So all that time I was talking, and as soon as I got home, I ended up realising that there was no audio. So, duh. So, what I was talking about in that video was my first bike, which is the CBX 250, Honda CBX 250. It was a good bike. Small for my size because I'm over 6 foot, but who really cares about that? It's, as long as it gets from A to B type thing, that's all that matters. But yeah, it's a nice little bike. I ended up teaching myself on that. Because what I mean by that is that I hadn't even got my L plates yet, and when my parents were away, because they bought the bike for me at the time before I got my license, and when my parents went to work, I jumped on the bike, not knowing really how to ride one, and just jumping on and just riding it. I never got picked up for it or anything like that, which was lucky, really lucky, but no, I just virtually taught myself. It was scary, yet very exciting at the same time. And when you're young, you don't worry about fear or stuff like that. You just do it. It's only when you get older that you start to realise, you've got to take into consideration, other people and all that stuff. One story I do have is that my first girlfriend that I had, she was a bit of a bike fanatic as well type thing, but her parents were dead set against it. And what we would do is we would walk. I would ride out, go down the road. She would get in her brother's car, and she would actually stop halfway down the street, and we'd stop, and she'd get on the bike, and then we'd continue on after that. So that was fun. But the time her parents actually relied on me with my license as such and riding a motorbike, they turned around and said, "Yep, she can go on there with you. We trust you. You're good enough. We think you're responsible enough." And we didn't get 500 metres down the road, and down on their street, they had a deli on the left-hand side, and being a single street, and I was doing like 30 k's an hour. I was being, this is the first time her parents actually allowed her to be on there, so they trusted me with it. So they entrusted me with her, and virtually about halfway down the street, like I said, 500 metres, it's that there was a deli on the left hand side, and somebody coming the opposite way wanted to go into that deli. Now, to do so, you had to go up a curb to get into the car park. It wasn't, one of these square curves. It was like a 45-degree angle type curve. But either way, you had to slow down to get in there. Now, I was getting up there, virtually where that car is there, and he was coming towards me. And he was coming closer, and I thought, okay, he's going to stop, and he did stop. But when we were virtually about a car length away from each other, it was a case of, oh, he thought, I can make this. So he pulled right out in front of me, and by that time, it's a case of, there was no room to react whatsoever. Sorry. There was no room to react whatsoever, and it was a case of he just pulled straight out in front, and consequently the bike hit the car, front end, passenger side, and we ended up going over the car. The bike ended up going over the car, even though we were doing it slow speed, but because he pulled right out in front, right at the last minute, it was a case of, there was no brake time, no reaction time whatsoever. So we ended up on the ground, bike laying on top of us. The only damage to the bike itself was all cosmetics. That's it. Fairings, that was it. The front headlight worked, all the indicators, the brakes, the clutch, everything else worked. The only thing that was broken on it was the plastic fairings on the front, and that was it. But we picked up the bike, we exchanged details type thing and whatnot, and we picked up the bike and turned around and slowly hung our head in shame and hobbled back. And I don't know if the father heard the crash or what, but he was waiting outside front, and I was nearly in tears. It was just like, oh my God, what have I done? And he just turned around and says, now you know why I don't like bikes. It's not because of the bike or the person who's riding it, it's because of the other idiots on the road that don't see you. So, lesson learnt. But then get this right. 2 weeks later, I ring the guy up to turn around and say, what's going on with the insurance and all that shit, and turned around and said, it was a good thing we weren't going any faster because you would have killed us type thing. And he says, oh, get off your horse type. There's no damage. There's no real loss or anything like that. So get over it type thing. And I thought, you prick. You're the one that pulled out in front of me right at the last minute, and now you're saying it's my fault type thing. It's just like, you bastard. Yeah. So midgie. Yuck. So yeah, it's a case of but no, I did a lot of Ks in that bike. Excuse me. Went around a lot of places, did a lot of off-roading. For a sports bike, you're not really supposed to do that type of thing, but again, when you're young, carefree, and don't really give a shit, you do whatever you feel like. And yeah, that's virtually what we did. We did whatever we felt like. There was one time when me and my mate went into Fremantle, and this is when the America's Cup was in Perth, and this is just, what was it, 85, 86, something like that. And by that time, because we've been in Fremantle heaps of times, and when the America's Cup came to Fremantle, they changed a few of the roads around, made two-way streets, one-way streets and whatnot. And me and my mate never knew this, and we went down one street, and we're thinking, crikey, it's busy, but there's not really much traffic on our side of the road. And everyone's, you know, laughing at it type thing, you know. And then we realised what had happened, that, you know, somebody had taken the sign down saying road had been changed and this is now a one-way street, no entry. So we didn't know what the hell was going on, and by the time we realised, we noticed there was a cop car coming the opposite way, and we thought, oh shit. And we went all around Fremantle, all up and down the side streets, because he was going the opposite way at the time. And we went all up and down the side streets trying to lose him. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to find us. And we told him the story, and he turned around and said, "Look, we're not going to, you know, give you a fine for it. We'll give you a warning, a caution type thing, because, you know, one day it was there and the next day it wasn't, and just somebody taking the sign down. We showed him afterwards, and he clearly stated that, you know, okay, we weren't to blame. So we got away with that one. That was pretty good." But what do you got? So yeah, there's a lot more stories I have, which we've done some stupid things, but as kids you always do, don't you? You never learn shit like that. You tend to learn after you've done the mistake, and even then, by that time, you tend to laugh about it afterwards. Excuse me. But no, it's just a case of you tend to know your bike after you do things like that. You know what it's capable of doing and what it's not, what's, you know, so-called thing. So I'm going to leave you again, and I'll join you later when it is type thing. Thanks for watching.